So my add-on for Blender is released. There are download links below. And once installed, all you have to do is select a curve, press the hotkey, and instant kit bash. So I bound it to J, but you can change this in your preferences. So just go to add-ons, enabled add-ons, and expand the curve basher preferences and change this to whatever you like. But regardless of what you pick, this will override Blender default. So keep that in mind. Anyway, there's a few different kit bash types, and each type has its own preset. So let's actually go over a few of those. So I'm going to run the add-on and press 1, and we're going to start with all of the simple presets. So by default, you should actually start with this one. And if you scroll, you can cycle through all of the included presets. And I will add more eventually, but for now, these are the ones we have. And as you can see, we can scale it. That's the default transformation mode. If I press R, we can rotate it. And if I press T, we can twist this end, and by holding down Alt, I can twist the other end of the curve. So if I don't like my transformations, just press 0 to reset all of them. Or I can always reset individual transforms with Alt-S for scale, Alt-R for rotation, so on and so forth. So there's another preset here that I like. Let's go, here it is. So it doesn't look like much now, but if we twist it, we can get something that looks a little bit more like rope. So we can see here that the segments are kind of visible, but we can increase the resolution by running the add-on, holding down Shift, and scrolling up. So it's a lot more smooth now, and this is the equivalent of like adding curve points without actually adding curve points, if that makes any sense. And another cool thing about this add-on is that it remembers our last used settings. So if I select a brand new curve that has never been modified before, and I run the add-on, it will apply the exact same preset. And I can do this for multiple curves at the same time. So I can apply that preset to all of them. I can scale all of them, twist all of them, and I think you get the idea. So let me actually reset my scene very quickly. So these simple presets, the ones we're looking at now, don't have a lot of detail on them. But because they're based off of a curve profile, they are ridiculously easy to both modify and create. So inside of the add-on, there's a blend file that includes all of the presets you're about to see. All you have to do is either modify that, or we can actually modify it right here. So just select that curve profile, select the circle, make it bigger, and you can see how the curve will update. But this is just temporary. This only applies to this curve. If I try to run the add-on again, see it's loading up the original preset, even though the transformations and the twist did apply correctly. So if you want to keep this preset more permanently, I suggest you modify the blend file I was talking about. And let's actually go over type number 2. So again, I'm going to reset my scene. And I just press 2, and we have the array that you already saw. And these are just using the array modifier in Blender, but they do a few things. So it turns on the adaptive count by default. So if I stretch this curve, for instance, notice how the elements themselves aren't really stretching. It just keeps adding more and more to fit the curve. And it does have its limitations. If you do some pretty crazy curves, and well, you get deformations like that. So keep that in mind. Let's undo. And another cool thing about these is that, well, you notice how hard it is to actually select the curve because the kit bash is in the way. So instead of pressing Shift Z and trying to find the curve in there so that we can run the add-on, or trying to find it in the outliner, we can actually just select the geometry and run the add-on, and the add-on will still work just fine. Or if we want to select the curve, for instance, if we want to adjust the curve points, then we can again run the add-on and press Tab, and that will select go into edit mode for the curve we were adjusting. So it makes it very easy to select the points and adjust them. And as you can imagine, we can still use the same transformation. So we can still rotate and twist. Let me actually turn on cavity so we can see this a little better. And scale works a little differently. I don't know if you noticed that. So if I just try to scale this by default, this happens. So when it comes to the array types, because we have a repeating element, and when we scale it, the stretching just becomes too obvious. So I included a special scaling algorithm just for these types of curves. So again, run the add-on, and instead of scaling normally, hold down Alt. and you'll get this effect instead. So this is probably more in line with what you would expect when scaling this curve or K-bash. Just don't go too small because arrays in Blender are not instances, so performance will degrade really, really fast. And we have a few other array type presets. Oh yeah, something I should mention. When this happens and the kitbash doesn't seem to be applied correctly to the curve, that's because we didn't apply the curve transformation. So I'm just going to select all of these, Control A, all transforms. There we go. And I can just select this preset, run the add-on, and scroll up for a completely different preset. And again, I'm going to hold on Alt for the uniform scale. And this time I'm going to let go and scale it normally just to change the dimensions of the chain links. Something like that. And of course, there are more presets. I'll add more in the future. And let's actually go over type 3. So again, reset our scene. Make sure to apply our transformations. So type 3 is our number 3. And there's actually not much to say about this type of kitbash, other than you can use it to deform anything. So it doesn't have to be something that looks like a cable. It can be I try to sort of make something that looked like a muscle here. It can be a hydraulic piece. It can really be anything. And of course, most of the presets are included do kind of look like cables, but hopefully you're more imaginative and you use this for different types of meshes. So there's quite a few buttons that you can press in this add-on. So if you ever forget, just press N, go to the Curve Basher panel right here, and you'll see a list of all of the key maps. So I've missed a few. I've missed these at the bottom. So let's go over these. So toggle wireframe does what you would expect. If you press W, you can see the wireframe of the mesh while the add-on is running only. So once we apply it, the wireframe goes away. Of course, we also have smooth shade, but I think a different preset is better suited for that. I have too many segments on some of these profiles. I'll probably fix that. Next update. Let's see, A for smooth shading. You don't actually have to exit the add-on to rotate. You can middle mouse and rotate while it's running, but that's the limit of navigation inside of the add-on. So again, A to toggle. I don't like that key map very much, so we'll probably change that. And oh yeah, spacebar for sub-D modifiers. So obviously this is something that you can do outside of the add-on. Just select the mesh, Control 2, and that will apply a sub-D modifier. But let's say you're scrolling through some presets and you just kind of want to see what they would look like without leaving the add-on. So just press spacebar, and then you can get a preview. You can't unfortunately remove these sub-Ds quite yet, next update. So if you want to remove the sub-Ds, just scroll up and then scroll down, and it will reload the original unsubdivided preset. And sub-Ds work with most of these presets. I haven't really tested them all, but yeah, most of them should work just fine. Some just have too much detail and subdivide really slow. And I didn't really mention this before, hopefully you noticed, is that if you want to edit any curves, you don't really need to select the curves. You can just select the kitbash itself and run the add-on. So you don't always have to select the curve. Selecting the mesh that is attached to that curve should work. So that's pretty much the gist of it. I will be uploading more videos, but if you're interested in this add-on, which is paid, there are links below.